Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tea Time with Taylor. This is a very interesting session of tea time, and I will say we've got a lot of content to go over today, and still just our 30-minute window. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. As always, I did make sure to create good amount of notes on each slide, so don't feel like you have to be diligently writing the whole time. You will receive a copy of the slide deck as well after the presentation, as well as a recorded copy of this session for anyone who wasn't able to join us live or who may want to show it to another member of their team or anything like that. But today's session is all about turning your reporting into simple and consistent method to understand the financial performance piece of Performance Tracker. We want to understand that side of your overall business and in this individual staff member side without being able to get completely lost in all of the details of the sales reporting. I think there's 28 static reports or something like that in our performance tracker system. So it's definitely a lot of data, and it's easy to get overwhelmed by it if you're looking at it without intention and without a roadmap, if you will. So today is about that. But I do have a special guest joining me today. Sorry, I'm trying to move forward in my deck here. So I have Derek Hussman with me today. He's a senior business consultant from our business consulting services team here at Johnson Consulting Group. And this is his first tea time that he's joining with us. So I've gone ahead and included his bio here. And Derek, I'm super excited to have you with me today. And I look forward to all of your insight into the sales reporting.
Thank you, Taylor. It's a pleasure to be joining you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys. So, like I said, short amount of time today and a lot to go over. So, we're going to just review what is available to you first and foremost on the sales reporting side of Performance Tracker. Not a lot of people know even that these reports are readily available to them in the system. So, whether you are a current user of Performance Tracker or you're just interested in the program, know that this level of reporting is extremely valuable, and you should definitely be taking a look at it on a regular basis. What are the three primary metrics that are most important when looking at this data? And what reports can help you hone in on that so you can make sure that you're intentionally looking at data consistently? We're going to spot some trends, gaps, and red flags along the way, how you can really scan through your data and see what jumps out to you in terms of outliers. Then I have created essentially a roadmap, a standard review method for looking at a few of these most impactful reports. That way you can take that away and put it to use operationally with your team. And then we will conclude with clarity over complexity, which is my approach to the sales reporting with Performance Tracker. I'm sure Derek can speak to that too as we go through it. It's really easy to get lost in the details, and that's one of the things that he, as a business consultant, actually helps advise our clients on how to explain all of that without getting overwhelmed. So, what financial data do you have access to with Performance Tracker X? We refer to this section of the reporting as the Advanced Contract Analytics Reporting. So, if you're unsure if you currently subscribe to this portion or this feature in Performance Tracker X, you can reach out to me and we can take a look at it together. And if you have any questions on how to access it in your dashboard, I do have a little snapshot here explaining where to get it in your dashboard. From your primary navigation tab here at the top, you would just select sales reports. Make sure you click on that little down caret if it's not in your primary window here. Then you would just select sales reports and you have access to download all of the reports that are available to you on PDF. And when you click on the report, it will ask you parameters around it in terms of timing and what you actually want to pull. But that data is available to you. I want to make sure that you guys are exporting it and using it on a regular basis because this report does enable funeral businesses to quick clarity, trend identification, deeper insight, better decision making, and strong team conversations. So it really is going to point out a lot of things to you. Derek, before I move forward, is there really anything that you want to introduce the sales reporting with on kind of your philosophy when approaching these reports?
So yeah, I would keep it simple in the beginning. I would start with, understanding where the reports are, first of all, and then picking a few reports that are going to really benefit you. And I know we're going to talk about several of those today. One being the sales performance snapshot. Um, and I'd really get into learning, or reviewing that on a regular basis. And we'll talk a little bit about consistency and how to look at that over time and to identify trends that are coming up, and then make managerial decisions. When you have time, obviously go through and pull these reports and see what's on them to get a better understanding of where to go when you need to dive deeper. So I in the beginning, I would certainly just stay at the high level, and you can then dive deeper to identify those areas of concern.
Yeah, that's awesome advice, and exactly how we're gonna approach it in the methodology today. Derek actually helped me come up with these 3 points. They're points that I've also heard Nelson and Vince on our business consulting team present a lot to the clients. The three metrics that really matter most when you are at that high level and just trying to identify some areas of opportunity for yourself. Case volume and asking yourself, how busy are we? Average sale. So, how well is each case actually converting to, revenue dollars? And then the revenue itself, what is the combined result? So, a great report, as Derek mentioned, to take a look at this at a larger level is that sales performance snapshot report. You saw on my previous slide, I went over it when Derek mentioned it, but in this top left hand corner of the overview screen, that's where you can get the sales performance snapshot report. So it actually is going to allow you to measure the case count, case mix, average sale, and total revenue all in one view. I will say another feature that is available that not everyone currently is taking advantage of, it allows you to plug in a budget too. So working with our business consulting team, they can go in and plug in a budget in that report for you so you can see where you're at and what that variance is at any time in the year. Now, why does this matter? You can identify easily a volume issue, a pricing or merchandising issue, or a shifting case mix. It's also going to be able to tell you, what are the next reports that you should drill down into, right? So if you're seeing a pricing or merchandising issue, for example, you might want to look at the arranger comparison report and take a look at, discounts or whether or not arrangers are moving off of that general pricing list that you've got established at your location. So Derek, I guess I do want to I want to ask you more than just your opinion on every slide, but when it comes to why these things matter, when you're intentionally meeting with a funeral home, I know it's very specific to their own business needs, but is there really like a good starting place for you on any of these three items?
The starting issue, and it's kind of universal for all funeral homes, is where's the calls? What's the volume? How are we doing there? That's the first place to start. Then we can dive deeper into the revenue. Revenue is going to be a leading indicator of what else is going on, right? If our average revenue per call is decreasing, what's the reasoning? Is it a shift in case mix? Is it pricing? Is it merchandising? The great thing about these reports is this gives you insight prior to seeing your financials, right? Financials are going to be a lagging report, kind of a report card of what's been going on. Well, we got to wait for everything to get reconciled, so all the expenses and everything comes in. Um, that might be a little late for some, depending on the size of the volume of what they've got going on to make some expense reductions. So we want to kind of keep an eye on what's going on with calls, what's going on with revenue, how we can dive deeper into all of those categories to make managerial decisions.
Yeah, I think that that's really insightful for this report specifically, and for like just having a starting point. I'm it's very, I guess when you're tackling any any task that could be overwhelming. For me, I'm not a numbers person, so looking at accounting side of things or these sales reports, it's I can't even imagine doing it from a business owner perspective, and really just feeling overwhelmed by what you're looking at. This is a sample of that report. I did pull this from Jake Johnson's funeral home here in Arizona. So I do have permission to share this information. But I pulled it for only the first 3 months of this year. So you can see April through December are currently blank, as well as Q2 through Q4. But you can imagine pulling this report for an entire year, and how much information that's going to give you. The reason I kept it just to Q1 is so we could really hone in on a portion of this report, just to kind of highlight and showcase what's being seen here. So for Menke, which is the funeral home that we're looking at, the majority of their business does come from cremation. So we pulled just the cremation cases. You can see we've got divided into separate categories here of traditional at need, with memorial at need, direct cremation, and then cremation pre need. So what those cases are showing us here is obviously heavy direct cremation, and you can see the case mix percentage at a glance, which is really nice to know, and the variation by month, or I guess the differentiation there. And just something that I do want to point out again too is that budget area. So you can see they do plug in their budget at the beginning of every year, and you can't have point 0.3 of a case, but that's giving you an example of where they should be dollar amount wise throughout the year, and they're currently above, which is looking nice on these two sections. Derek, what's something on here that I haven't pointed out that you want to highlight on this report?
Yeah, so there's quite a few things just on this small snapshot, right? We look at traditional cremation, and although the call volume is solid, right? We're
Hmm.
we're at two. Budget was essentially two. Call mix is where it should be. However, when we look at the average sale,
Yeah.
okay, there's a gap. And we'd want to dig down deeper into what the gap is. Is this a situation where it's merchandise? Because it is a traditional cremation call, so we should have the service levels to where they should be.
Hmm.
Was there missed opportunities? Was this a casket that was brought in? Was this a lack of urn sale? Several opportunities to identify there. As we go down to memorial service, we can see that we're off our case count. We're down in memorial services. However, we are up $2,000. Okay. So great that we're up, but we're down in call volume. So what's the correlation between those? Did we do something with the GPL last year and raise the prices? Are we getting pushback? It's an opportunity to dig a little bit deeper into that segment. Same way with direct cremation. We're up, but we're down on case count and case mix. The final thing that I looked at on this is our pre-need fulfillment is actually outperforming our budget. Okay, so if we're down on calls and we're taking calls out of the file cabinet, essentially, our our case count is actually potentially even in more jeopardy, right? So if we're not getting the calls that we normally got from our normal at need, and we're pulling files out of the pre-arrangement drawer, we better be making sure that our pre-need program is active to replenish for one, and then what's going on with the market. So a couple things, just to kind of real high level look at reasons more to drill down. And I do like the fact that we can see month over month because there's going to be seasonal variations. And when we put that budget in, we would want to factor that in, right? It's not just we're going to skip the same number of calls over the course of every month. We are going to have some seasonality with that. So again, high level, maybe this was all perfectly fine. We understand what's going on. We don't need to dig any deeper. Or there's some other issues that are going on that we want to address and make some decisions now to prevent this trend from continuing.
Yeah, that's awesome insight that only a consultant could provide on that. And certainly someone with as much experience in this profession as you have. Now, moving forward into some of the other reports that we have. So, let's say you do spot something that is a red flag. No pun intended there, or kind of your regular, from what from your business, to be the quote unquote normal. So I've got here spotting trends, gaps, and red flags. Oh my, it's kind of my play on Wizard of Oz there. But what should you look for immediately in these reports? We kind of just went over that, but declining average sales trends, shift in case mix percentages, large gaps between budget and actual performance. That's what Derek just focused on, and then inconsistent performance month to month. A really good thing to pull after this, I would say, depending on what you're finding, is this arranger comparison by case type report. We're not going to zoom in on this report or anything. We're going to keep it kind of high level here, but this is something that compares each arranger by case type. You can also compare them by sales item, depending on which version of the report you pull. And that's going to give you a ton of information, right? And you can be able to pull out outliers, or use some of this data to guide those conversations that you're having with your team on maybe areas of opportunity that they have, and really diving into that further with your team and working on training. Now, some of the red flags that are going to come up in the reporting, Derek did mention this as well, with revenue misses where there either is a or isn't a volume loss, or I will say kind of the opposite problem of what we saw on that report, where there was a higher dollar amount but a lower case volume. So keeping an eye on both of those and just making sure that your expected case volume is where it should be. Wide variability across case types. Focus on education-based training. So, making sure that your funeral directors know how to educate their families, especially the loss of a loved one for the first time for a family. They might not have any idea what options are even available for honoring their loved one. GPL pricing, is it where it needs to be? Those are things that, and I'm going to do a little plug for you here, Derek. I really have seen Nelson, Vince, and Derek do some magic work with GPL pricing lists. And just making sure that they are where they need to be at market level, and for that business specifically. So definitely taking a look at that. And then package design itself. So are certain things grouped together appropriately in the packages that you're offering families? Discount patterns over time. So discounts should be intentional, not automatic. I personally come from the hospitality business, and then I went into surveys and customer experience data. So I do not come from this world, and I can say that this is kind of a universal thing, right? If you're offering discounts to families or customers, they should always be intentional, and it should not just be the standard. And I know it can be hard for funeral directors to kind of rein that in sometimes. Derek, do you want to kind of speak to that a little bit more from that perspective of the profession?
Yes, and in particular to this slide, this is one that I definitely pull and utilize. It's going to give me a comparison across the different call types and for the arranger. To me, this identifies some areas that we can look for training. If I have a high performer in certain categories, what are they doing well? What are their best practices? If it's someone who's underperforming, what does that look like as well? What are they doing different? We want to have the same procedure and process for our arrangers and comfort level with the GPL, right? So if I have an individual who, for example, is underperforming and they're price sensitive, right? So they're not comfortable with the pricing. So that gives me an opportunity to provide some training to that individual, to work with the arrangers that are higher performing as to what they do. I had a particular situation, a young funeral director. His earn frequency was like 85%, and the rest of the company was like 20. And so we just simply asked him, "What are you doing differently?" He's like, "I just assume that there's going to be an earn sale every time, and I ask for it." And it was something that simple, but eye-opening for the rest of the team, for them to experience that is like, "Oh, you just simply need to ask for it." It's like, "Well, I just assumed it." So again, just training opportunities that can be identified. That report also flows into some things that we may talk about in a little while. Um, and that's in regards to ICPs, and that's rewarding your high performers with bonus structures. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, that is a great report, Taylor, for people to get a lot of insight.
Yeah, I tried to move forward as you were speaking to these specific areas. So, this report that Derek touched on is the sales contract analysis by location. You can also pull it by company or by arranger, so you can drill all the way down to that individual staff level as well. But at the location level, you can obviously look at things for your team as a whole. But pulling it down by a ranger, even, I mean, you can focus on earns and keepsakes, like what Derek was just saying, and maybe identify if it's just a simple training opportunity, or if there's something deeper going on. We have a discount column here. I know that this is a large report. There's a lot of areas to look at, and this is like a small little snapshot I have of it. But really take my advice. If you're a current performance tracker user, go in and start pulling some of these reports for yourself, and then you can start to build that rapport with your team of, hey, these are the reports that we're going to take a look at, maybe on a monthly or quarterly basis, to have these conversations and look at where we're going. So I mean, involve your team. I feel like it's good to let them know that you have access to this information, and that you guys are trying to make it better, especially since funeral directors don't like to focus on sales, right? They really focus most on serving their families. That's what I've learned, at least in my time with Johnson Consulting Group over the last 5 years, is funeral directors just really care about their families the most. And this is something where you can relate the bottom line of the business back to caring for their families, because they're being offered the things that you guys have available to them. So, kind of pulling in the reins here a little bit away from the actual reports themselves. This is what I refer to as a standard review method for taking these reports and consistently looking at them as a group. So, you're going to take, like, for example, your sales performance snapshot report, your arranger comparison report, and then your sales contract analysis report. Those are the three we touched on today. And then you're going to create kind of a regular process for yourself to be able to look at these consistently over time. So, involving your team, here's a really good roadmap for being able to present this information to either members of leadership or your staff. So starting with, where are we as a company? Again, keeping it at that high level, like that sales performance snapshot report shows you. Here's where we see opportunity. So, shifting to those outliers that we were focusing on. And then actually focus on case type performance, overall trends, and then process improvement. Obviously, that's going to be the primary sentiment with any of the reports and performance tracker, right? Not just on the sales side, but also on the customer service side as well. And then avoid overcomplicating the data and getting lost in the details. Now, Derek, I feel like overcomplicating the data is, when a client hits that point where they're kind of getting lost in it, that's when they would give you guys a call, right? On the business consulting side to kind of explain some of these reports and not just the reporting itself, but obviously creating solutions for the business. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's another set of eyes with industry specific experience, um, and we're going to look at things a lot differently. And one of the things I probably should have said in the beginning is we look at, we're not looking for. So I want to make sure that when you're reviewing these reports, look at them and let the report tell you what's going on. Don't go in there specifically looking for something because you'll miss some other opportunities. So we want to make sure that we're doing it at a high level first, then drilling down with the information that we've gathered.
Yeah, that's a great. I need to start using look at instead of look for when I'm talking about this. I love the switch in verbiage there that you used. In the simple four-step process that I have, this is like once you gather the information after reviewing the reports, this is doing it on a regular basis and kind of repeating those patterns. So taking a look at that sales performance snapshot, asking yourself, are we on track? um, and that's easier to take in over time, right? You know what you're looking at versus just looking for outliers or looking for something that you're really not aware of going into it. Case mix review, what's shifting in our business. The sales contract analysis, again, those you can pull it by location, by arranger, and then by company as well, if you're still looking at that overall picture. And what's really driving your revenue. And then the comparison reports. So by case type and sales item, that breaks it down to the staff level. And you can see, hey, if someone on my team has a lower amount of cases, but then they have a larger average sale, what's really driving that? Is it volume? Are your, other arrangers that have higher volume in some ways skipping steps and not even meaning to, or whatever it might be. And really just being able to point out where our biggest opportunities are. That's how you have to look at all of the reporting in performance tracker, is that it's not a matter of it's not a matter of like big brother watching over. It's a matter of finding opportunities to improve and to continue I guess just making better experiences for families and for the business overall. So I know we're running short on time here. I do want to close out with a couple of closing remarks before we conclude every tea time the way we usually do, with just some resource information for you guys. But just in conclusion, just a reminder of where you can find these sales reports in your dashboard, and some things that great operators do when they're looking at this reporting is looking at those same metrics consistently, ask the same questions over time, use data to guide, not overwhelm decisions. And then ultimately, you're going to be pivoting your actions based on the business needs. And that's something that, you guys can make those decisions as business owners. And then you can also ultimately bring in someone like Derek on your team to help guide you and help make those decisions and those actions on your team. Now I do want to let Derek speak to some of the business opportunities that are available with the consulting team because he is much more knowledgeable in them than I am. So, Derek, I do have an example of what the leadership and management course is, but
Mhm.
is there anything you want to speak to on maybe the other items here for CX workshops, business assessments, and incentive compensation plans?
Absolutely. So, as Taylor mentioned, we do offer a wide variety of programs or engagements that the business consulting team does. Leadership and management is an outstanding program that you spend 3 days on site, and as you can see there on the slide, the customer experience workshop. One of my colleagues is one of the main drivers with that. That's Vince Robridge. Does a fantastic job of getting everybody engaged with their customer experience. The business assessment is basically a checkup on your business. It's a review of the four key pillars, and that's going to be workplace, marketplace, customer experience, and then your financials. Typically involves a business consultant on site for 1 to 2 days, really walking in the shoes of the owners and the staff members and understanding how the overall operation works. I kind of mentioned incentive compensation plans earlier. That is a tool that can be used for providing bonus structures for your employees, rewarding behavior, positive um, key metrics, average revenue per call for burial on at need, average revenue per call for cremation at need. Um, the survey program that Taylor is really involved with, and I highly recommend that we're surveying all of our families to tie back into the customer experience, but getting ratings on how those arrangers are doing, potentially your AR collections, or whatever it is that you're looking to drive behavior on. So there's some of the key things that we do. We also do business coaching, performance management, and even a fractional COO program. So a lot of different hats that we wear, but they all come back to helping provide structure and improvements for your businesses.
Awesome. And that is one of the things that Derek actually asked me about when we were talking about this webinar was, are we tying in the CX from the surveys, so the customer feedback from the families? And I was like, that's a whole different rabbit hole that we have to dive down. So we'll be doing another tea time on that later on this year. But ultimately, that is what Performance Tracker is designed to do, is to provide both the CS, so the customer service feedback, and the sales reporting feedback into one, synergistic customer experience reporting tool. So definitely do not let yourself get lost in either just the sales reporting or just the survey reporting. They should really work in sync with each other. And that's something that the business consultants are awesome at doing, and telling that story through the data. Now, available to you guys as always, the webinar archive in the dashboard. So you can access this by going to your support tab with the little drop down caret and selecting resources. All of our past Tea Time webinars are available to you. They're on YouTube. So it's a pretty easy link to get to and to access. You'll also be emailed this presentation today, as I mentioned before. And then our support team is always available to you as well, our current performance Tracker X clients, or even if you're just interested in Performance Tracker X services or any of the business consulting services that we went over today, just reach out to us. We can help get you over to the correct party to talk to if you're interested in more information. And then just know you can still submit ideas or requests for any future Tea Time webinar topics. We do try and keep this very innovative and always coming up with new topics to to discuss and dive deep into. So that's something that we're, passionate about. We want to make sure that we're actually talking about things that you guys care about as attendees. So, Derek, thank you so much for joining me today and all of your insight. You definitely helped um, provide a lot more value to this discussion than what I just would have done on my own. So, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and everyone, thank you so much for taking the time to join today. Like I said before, I will be sending out this slide deck as well as the recording. So keep an eye out for that and reach out to us if you have any questions.